It's been a while since I posted a video, so I decided to do one real quick. I was roaming around YouTube and then my recommended, I saw Insider Business for whatever reason did a video on every piece of kit or gear in the Army Rangers night raid bag. Try doing a react to it and also compare it to the kit that I use right now and wear. I mean, I'm not in anymore, so a lot of stuff is probably not as relevant to me, but you know, it's interesting to see. Anyway, let's try.
So if we're trying to breach a wall, a door, we will have pre-built charges prior to going out on the mission. If the initiation system fails, you always carry your alternative means. That way you can rapidly attempt to initiate that breach. Hi, I'm Sergeant First Class Jacob Braun. I'm a platoon sergeant in 75th Ranger Regiment, and this is everything that a Ranger would typically carry on a night raid.
By the way, I could tell like they picked this guy not only because he's the main sergeant, but he looks very squared away. He looks very professional. Probably doesn't use a lot of profanity in his normal English. So right away I could tell like he was picked for a reason.
The Rangers are the Army's premier special operations.
Sorry for stopping already, but we're talking about Army Rangers and the editor put some Marine on screen. Attention to detail like that, it's like, editor, you guys make so much money, yet the small things you guys don't pay attention. What the hell?
We focus primarily on airfield seizures and raid type objectives. We primarily focus on nighttime raids just due to the surprise element. We rapidly overcome the objective, do what we need to do, and then rapidly.
You know, as I think about it, I feel like I've seen this video before, but it was like the FBI HRT team, and they do wear multicam. I've seen some videos of it, so yeah, I think this editor just pulled whatever he think that looked good on the internet.
Rapidly withdraw from the target objective, typically in one period of darkness. I've served 12 years in the Ranger Regiment. I've deployed 9 times, and I've used this exact equipment sitting here numerous times on night raids to accomplish the mission. Right here you have your aviator's kit bag. This is something that typically every Ranger.
That's kind of interesting. For other guys, they usually have, like, at least for me, we had like the big ass sea bags, the big ass duffel bags called deployment bags. These bags I usually see with, you know, helicopter crew pilots and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a huge bag, so I guess it works taking all your gear in. Maybe I should pick one up, because I use a big ass Pelican right now. It's kind of a pain in the ass.
We'll use to transport their gear when we travel. This bag contains everything that I would typically take as a Ranger platoon sergeant on a point raid objective. Okay, so I'll start off with my ballistic helmet. It has a variety of
looks like your basic
objects attached to it. So we'll go ahead and start off with the front of the helmet. So right here you're going to see your PVS 31s.
Oh yeah.
These are night vision goggles. They're white phosphorus, and they give us the ability to see it.
He said white phosphorus. Fucking the editor put green. Come on, guys. I'll do you guys a favor. I'm gonna post green and white phosphorus. Now there's different kinds like Voltanis and all that other stuff, but we won't get into that. But just so you know what it actually looks like. I'll do the editing for you.
As you come to the rear of the helmet, you're gonna see these Peltors ear protection. They also, you can see the wires. Those will plug into my radios and communications equipment that you'll see later on my plate carrier. These essentially give me the ability to communicate calmly with my team, and it protects my ears from loud noises.
I do have the same thing. He probably has the opt for either the old Maritime or the SF right now that they get issued. I have the old Fast that is basically kind of the Maritime, you know, in its own way. Well, people say it might be wrong. They look the same to me. I don't care. So he has his Peltors mounted on the arc rails right here. Now, the problem I have, and I think some other people have, is I can't get a good seal on my ear, so it's just loose, and I just the ear protection doesn't get to do its job. So what I have to do, and other people do it too, is they wear the fucking Peltors over their head like normal, and they put the helmet on. And I mean, that's one way to do it. The best way that I would hope to eventually get the OpsCore amps, because they have movable amps they can control, and you can like lock them into your ears, open them up. It looks really good, but you know, they're just expensive, so I'll hold off until I'm ready.
Is when we're shooting our weapons or conducting any type of breaches, explosives, stuff like that. On the rear of the helmet, you have a battery pack, and it also has a infrared strobe that is used for marking friendly locations on the objective. So essentially, when you look through the PVS 31s, your night vision, you can see these blinking or steady strobes, and that highlights where your friendly elements are on the objective.
That's what it is.
This helmet provides
with
ballistic
green
protection.
I do want to add some other things besides the normal strobe you usually have on top of your helmet or wherever else you put it. We also put IR reflective patches all over, not our kit, but our camis too. So you can see it on his shoulder pockets. They usually all over our kit. You usually see, you know, like the big American flags. Some of them are like kind of shiny. Those are reflective patches, so it makes people more visible under nods. Also, occasionally more likely we'll have like chem lights sticking on our gear somewhere. You know, just more signature for friendlies to identify us. Just wanted to add that.
It essentially allows us to carry all the equipment that we would need to see and communicate with our friendly elements.
Is it comfortable to wear, uncomfortable?
So this specific helmet is extremely comfortable. If you can see, I'll try and open up
it's
a little
lot
bit.
better than what I used to wear, at least.
Pretty simple padded system in there and suspension system, so you can tighten it and loosen it based on the individual's needs. And they've come a long way. The first helmets that we were using when I first got to the regiment were a little bit more bulky, a little bit heavier. The pads weren't as comfortable.
Yep.
So these things continue to develop, and
the old ACH and Mitch.
Okay, next up is going to be my plate carrier. It's commonly referred to as a kit within the organization. So I'll pull this out. We'll talk top to bottom. What's on here?
Oh, so for any of you guys curious, that the Cry JPC, it might be the 2.0. I'm not sure. I would have to see the back, but the way to tell the JPC is by the shoulder strap. The shoulder strap has this weird like scuba webbing thing. It's called Hyperlon. Yeah, it's like one of the very few unique features pieces of that carrier that you could pretty much tell. It's kind of like the gold standard plate carrier in the industry, and they're fairly good price. It's a good starter plate carrier. If you don't know what you want, get a fucking JPC. It's like you can find 1.0s for like $125, the 2.0s, which like low 200s, maybe find a used one, probably under 200. So yeah, just throwing that out there.
So first, I have a phone here. We use this primarily for GPS, internal communications within the elements, and it also relays our location to other leaders on the ground. Okay, so next going down, this little device right here is going to be my push-to-talk, typically referred to as a PTT. That is connected into my Harris 163 radio. These two and
fancy. The biggest fanciest comp gear I've ever messed with were the 152s. But since we're talking about Lakers, bring mine out here. Oh, fuck. Let me move the camera a little bit. Oh, you know, same thing. I have the phone holder thing. Mine's a Juggernaut case. His is Cogworks. Cogworks is owned by a former Army Ranger named Garand. He's a really good guy, very funny. Very, very funny. If you have a chance to take a class from him, definitely do it. He's a funny ass guy and knows a lot of shit. And then I also have a PTT. I rock usually Baofeng's, TCI 152s or Motorola APXs, but I mean, beggars can't be choosers.
Antennas are basically allow me to talk on multiple channels at the same time, and they also geolocate with this device right here, so you can see where I'm at on the objective area. Pretty much every leader on the ground will carry one of these so that we can communicate with each other. So as I referred to earlier, you can...
Some leaders wear two radios usually. Usually it used to be like, you know, the JTAC guy, JTAC qualified guys, or the air traffic controllers are wearing like two radios, and you see them with the giant antennas. They're called the twin antenna gods because they, you know, control the air to destroy the enemy. But now, like, a lot of team leaders are usually getting them now. One for like internal radio within their team, and then one external one, you know, for like command, air, etc. like that. So sometimes you see people running too. Yeah, just want to throw that out there.
Wires coming off my Peltors. These will plug in right there, and I can hear everything internally without having to scream or shout to each other. We can talk relatively calm in the chaos. Right now I have mine set up to carry my magazines here in the front. These magazines are for my primary weapon system, which is an M4. So standard loadout carries 7 of these, which gives you 210 rounds of 5.56 on the objective on every rifleman. On the front, I have these bungee pouches. I typically will stick anything on there, mission dependent, just extra equipment that I might need to rapidly access. So down here is this pouch. Next is gonna be a headlamp with red lens capability. Red lens reduces the signature, allows us to stay relatively hidden in the darkness, and it's not super bright so that we're not projecting our force out into the open area. This is typically going to be used at a short halt or once the area is secure, if we're doing like a map check, something in that instance. I also carry a shock tube initiator. This is an alternate means of initiating a breach. Typically this is used during a failed breach. This would never be a primary means of initiation. So if we're trying to breach...
Must be nice having budget and, you know, being on SOCOM. So in the Marine Corps, not everyone's learning how to do this, obviously. Originally it used to be assaultmen, which doesn't exist anymore in the Marine Corps. So they're just picking someone who's competent to carry the explosives and do it. And usually combat engineers are the ones doing this type of stuff. But in reality, we probably don't have the budget to make breaching charges. So we're probably using sledgehammers, halberds, crowbars, you know, shotguns, at most, to like do the breaching. So yeah, every branch and unit has different funding, and yeah, not everyone gets to learn this kind of cool stuff, unfortunately.
A wall, a door, something similar. We will have pre-built charges prior to going out on the mission that are built with initiation systems separate from the charge. Once you get up, you would tie in. If the initiation system fails due to some type of foreign debris causing a malfunction,
I have to look it up.
It's just
later.
a bad initiating system. Anything, you always carry your alternative means. That way you can rapidly attempt to initiate that breach. So this shock tube initiator would tie directly in to the shock tube, which would initiate the charge. So right here we have a VS-17 panel. This is utilized to signal friendly forces on the objective and also signal aircraft. So as you can see, it's extremely visible. If I was trying to signal somebody, I could just basically hold it up, flash it, and get somebody's attention without needing to be super overt. Next in here is going to be just a standard lensatic compass. Like I said, we typically will navigate using modern technology.
That's one thing I don't carry around, but I do miss doing land nav, and I hopefully get back into it. Usually when I was in, like, we didn't have the ATAC yet, so at most our command would usually carry around, you know, a Garmin. And even to this day, I see guys still with the ATAC, Garmin strapped up somewhere over the Garmin watch, and now you have, it's just having a lot of, you know, backup plans and, you know, being prepared and stuff like that. So yeah, I just want to say that because, man, I miss doing that now. I need to do that again. Well, I miss doing fieldcraft stuff in general.
But it pays to have something like this on hand just to confirm, especially if you're talking to aircraft or something in that manner. So it's just typical compass, primarily serves as a backup to more modern equipment.
They fail.
But every Ranger will typically have one of these on them. Spare batteries.
Nope.
Obviously, there's a lot of technical equipment that I'm carrying on my kit. Previously to us leaving for the objective, we'll put fresh batteries in, and then we'll have at least one spare for every piece of equipment that we carry. The last thing I have in my pouch is a casualty card.
Oh,
So as a
we call
platoon
ours
sergeant, I keep one of
9-9s.
these on
I
me
mean, same thing though.
on every objective. Worst case scenario, if there's multiple casualties that we need to triage and take care of, this allows me to rapidly kind of organize the chaos and get them the help they need. So it's just a brief rundown of the types of injuries they have, the level of stability that they're at that I can communicate up and request the proper assets to get them the care they need. Every Ranger will typically carry multiple tourniquets on their person that they can access with either hand in the case that they have to provide self-aid until assistance arrives or a medic. Okay, so now I'll rotate a little bit. So on the back of my kit, I'm gonna have additional magazine pouches similar to what's on front. I have an additional pair of fast rope gloves rubber banded to the back of my kit. When we go out, we'll know how we're gonna infill, but sometimes due to the situation, we'll have to make a call en route that we're gonna fast rope. Essentially, that just means we're gonna slide down a rope from a helicopter. You will want to use a specific pair of gloves to protect your hands when you're fast roping. So every Ranger will keep a pair of those, typically rubber banded to their belt or their kit that they can rapidly access. If you don't have fast rope gloves and you need to fast rope, honestly, you probably will end up not going on target that night because it is extremely dangerous. If you don't have those, it can do a lot of damage to your hands, and essentially you would
Look
become
at
a
his face.
casualty
I feel like there's a
as soon
story.
as you infill due to the extreme friction burns that you would receive. You'd be combat ineffective. The rest of my plate, again, this is typically set up mission dependent. I keep mine slick on the back. That way I can wear any type of pack, carry additional equipment, or I can carry stuff off target that we might need.
Basically, what he's saying, since he's a team sergeant, he has everyone else carry the stuff. Not really, but in reality, yeah, people in leadership positions wear like lighter, slicker shit, just because, I mean, they just have to be around more, and I don't know, they're very multi-purpose, but usually they're the one wearing lighter stuff, just being around more and stuff like that. I mean, it's dependent. It varies.
Leaders might have additional pouches with additional equipment or more magazines, or they would typically carry their charges in a pouch on their rear plate. Mine's set up slick just because I typically run a little bit lighter as the platoon sergeant. I need to be more mobile, so I don't like to have a lot of gear all over my kit.
Yeah. For me, on the other end, I usually like having a slick back, but I have this back now, and might as well try it out. Usually, I would put the training bangs in here, smokes, miscellaneous stuff like zip ties, tape, more batteries, maybe more medical gear. Right now here, there's I have a bunch of sticks that I need to pop open out of their packages. And usually I do wear gloves. I'll usually put them in this GP pouch or something, or have them hanging off a carabiner or something like that. Usually I would keep it slick in the back because in my background I worked in vehicles, and it's annoying to have stuff on the back. And then at provisional infantry I did carry around a pack, so again I would keep it slick then. But now I'm a civilian, so I do what I want, and I don't know, just want to try it out back now. And it was a good deal, and it kind of came with it, so for me, so that's why I have it.
And again, as you can see, I have a front and rear plate for protection, and then I have side plates as well. A majority of my vitals on my upper body are going to be covered at any given time. So the plate carrier typically weighs anywhere between 15 to 30 pounds, depending on what you're carrying. All together, when I'm wearing my entire kit, I usually am wearing an additional 50 to 75 pounds over body weight. So I'm weighing roughly about 300 pounds when I'm on target. This specific plate carrier is one that I've worn for the past 7 years or so.
Damn.
It's extremely lightweight. The shoulders, as you can see, are extremely slim profile. I can shoulder my rifle extremely comfortably, which allows me to engage accurately. So next I'm gonna pull out my belt. This is typically referred to as a war belt. So this is an external belt. Velcro will attach it to my internal belt that I will wear on my pants. It has a Cobra buckle system, which allows rapid securing and unsecuring if need be. First thing you're gonna notice here is my airframe tether. So any time we are riding on aircraft, this will be secured to a retention hook on the floor of the aircraft typically. It has a little bit of stretch, so we'll hook this in once we load the aircraft, and we'll remain hooked in until we're ready to offload.
So pretty much, we had something similar to those things, but what we use them for is like when an individual gets injured, we usually use the carabiner part, hook it onto the drag handle so we could drag them away instead of like doing like a weird fireman's carry or drag them, you know, losing one hand. I'm pretty sure you could still use those, you would just have to put them somewhere else. I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I used or seen them. I don't personally use one now. I do kind of want to get one just because I do a lot of courses that involves injured persons, but yeah, I don't know. Just wanted to throw that perspective and possibility out there, saying like it's not just for helicopters. You can possibly use it to like drag people around.
This just keeps us safe in case there's any type of issues with the aircraft. So this is extremely important to have on at all times. Next, I have my pistol mag in my pistol mag pouch. I typically will carry one of those in addition to my pistol, which is already loaded. That gives me roughly 30 rounds of 9mm ammo as a backup to my primary weapon system.
What type of pistol do you carry?
We carry Glock 19s, sometimes Glock 17s.
Glock master race,
depending
guys.
on what position you're in. But
When
I
people
typically
hate on
will carry a
Glock,
Glock
it's just
19.
because
This pouch
they
right
hate
here
that's
is
how
extremely
popular it is.
useful. It's called a
Just get
dump
Glock, it's
pouch.
cheap and
Every Ranger has
everyone
one. They
has
can
one.
also be rolled up and stowed. Essentially, we'll carry anything in these. Extra water bottles,
That's why I use
food.
mine
If
for.
you're doing magazine changes, you'll stow your empty magazines here to retain them for later use. It's one of those kind of catch-all bags or pouches. Everything can then be secured with this pouch or this strap right here that goes over top and secures it. As we move further across the belt,
Looks like a Gerber.
pretty standard equipment right here is
Hey.
a Gerber multi-tool.
That's
This comes in handy for a variety of reasons. Obviously, it has a knife, pliers, different things that we would need to access. This is not something that I need quickly. That's why it's towards the rear of my belt, but in extreme circumstances, it could come in very handy to essentially help either fix a malfunction with my weapon system or do anything that I might need it to do. Next is my med kit. This is a standard med kit that every Ranger will have on their body. Typically, it's going to be attached either to their kit or their belt. I like to have mine on my belt because it's a little bit easier to reach with both hands. This one specifically can be removed by pulling this panel right here, and then I can move the pouch. This will be used to...
So stop it right there. I have the same pouch. It's kind of a bitch once you pull this out to put it back in my experience. And right now my med kit is empty because for what I let someone use his belt like a couple years, well, no, yes, like a year or so ago, and they used the contents of my IFAC for whatever reason for something, and they did eventually give me and bought me new medical supplies. I just never put it back in because I'm lazy. Not saying I don't have any medical with me. I usually have some on my plate carrier or in my car somewhere, but yeah, that's very extremely irresponsible for me, but I mean, it's my life, and I'll eventually get to it. I'm waiting for certain things too, like some medkit sleigh just to stick in there, because it wasn't the most organized when I had first stuff in here. So yeah, there's that.
To essentially assist a casualty once additional help arrives, or if they need to do further casualty care. So this area right here is kept
Where is this
clean
holster?
because that's typically where my pistol would go.
Oh, okay.
So if I'm wearing my belt, my pistol's on my right side because I'm right-handed.
It probably puts it in
That's
the inner belt.
clean, so I have unobstructed access to my pistol in case I need to draw that. And then last but not least, right here, You have a pouch for a M67 fragmentation grenade. This is a lethal munition that most leaders will carry on target. I like to have mine set up on my belt for rapid access. You can additionally carry them kind of on the front, left or right of your plate carrier.
That's what I usually
depending
put
on which
mine.
hand you are. That way it's easily retrievable. That is what I would carry on my person for a typical Ranger night raid. Obviously, any equipment left behind could mean life or death for us. We actually have something in place called pre-combat checks and pre-combat inspections.
PCCs
and that
and
will happen
PCIs,
before we even
annoying,
load
but
aircraft and leave,
very
or
important.
load vehicles and leave.
Now I appreciate it. Now the video wasn't more directly towards comparing, you know, my play here is. I mean, obviously there's different things, like he's rocking GBC, I'm rocking ABS, but we're hitting out our carriers to what we think we need to our preference, because it's very personalized. So don't just go out there and just like, you know, like make a play carrier based on a cool picture guy's photo you saw. Personalize it to your needs, you know, what you think you may need. You may not need all this extra stuff. I mean, mine's is a mix of like my experience and things, what I noticed that I need to put. Like, you don't need probably like six or several, you know, types of ammunition on you. Sight plates, for example, one. You know, you definitely don't need an ATAC. Stuff like that. So, you know, it was a much of a comparison video. It's more of like just perspective. Clearly a lot of the things we do the same thing, but that's probably just because we have somewhat similar backgrounds. I mean, he's more cooler than I am. Obviously, I did more badass things and definitely a lot more experience, but a lot of those fundamental reasoning is still there. So make sure when you make your play carrier, you know, you give people a reason why you do it and set it up how you do. Yeah, here's a little short video. I plan to do more, hopefully, guys. This was not meant to be a gear review or show off gear video. All right, it's just a quick video I wanted to do. All right, well, hope you guys have a good night. Appreciate it.